Hi, I'm the third Cohen brother. You're probably wondering why I'm in a college dorm right now. Well, I heard you have some questions about Fargo. Gee, what a movie. Well, I'd love to answer them, but my bastard brothers made me sign a non-disclosure agreement. Hey, wait a minute. What year is it anyway?
The year of our Lord, 2020.
Perfect! Fantastic! The NDA has expired. I can talk about Fargo. The car dealership scenes? Fantastic choice. I had my eye on those as well. Let's dive into that first scene. But first, perfect. Hey, it's me, the third Cohen brother again. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at each of these scenes separately, then I'm gonna tell you how they're connected, and then I'll analyze the two. So here we see Jerry scribbling on the golf.
Mr. Lundegaard?
Marge comes in, says
Can I
hello,
take just a minute of
sits
your time
down.
here?
Behind we notice some trophies.
What is it all about?
Huh? Do you mind
Jerry's
if I sit
taken
down?
aback.
Carrying quite a load
He's
here.
caught off guard. More golf.
You're the owner here, Mr. Lundegaard?
Nah, executive sales manager.
A little
Well, you
nervous
can
about
help
his
me. My name's
dad.
Marge Gunderson.
My
Stepfather.
father-in-law. He's the owner.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm a police officer from up Brainerd, investigating some malfeasance. And I was just wondering if you'd had any new vehicles stolen off the lot in the past couple of weeks.
Here we're gonna get some Minnesota nice
Specifically a
stuff.
Tan
You
Cala
know,
Sierra.
he does not know what to say, so he's just gonna talk about Brainerd and Babe the
Mr.
Blue
Lundegaard.
Ox.
Brainerd.
Yeah.
See, he still
Well,
thinks he
no
can get
problem.
out of
Babe
this
the Blue Ox.
situation.
Babe the Blue Ox.
So he's playing dumb.
Yeah, you know, we got that big statue up there. So, you haven't had any vehicles go missing then?
No, no ma'am.
Okie dokie, thanks a bunch. I'll let you get back to your paperwork then.
And she leaves just like that. It's simple. He thinks he's gotten out of it. He hasn't. All she thinks is that he's been awkward. And now she exits the dealership. Through the showroom, that is. And Jerry picks up the phone and calls for Shep.
Yeah, give me Shep.
So, yeah, that's the first scene.
Where did he go? It's only... No, I don't need a mechanic. I need a... Oh, jeez. I gotta talk to a friend of his. So, have him,
Oh boy, was that first scene exciting. You haven't even seen the second one. Let's get back to it. Here we see the return of the I Love Golf notepad and some more of Jerry's scribbles as he tries to fake the VIN numbers. Marge is going to come back in the way she came out through the showroom. And Jerry's going to look up and he's not happy.
Sorry to bother
Look
you.
at that
Can I
face.
come in?
yeah, no, I'm kinda busy here.
I
So he's going to try to
understand. Real short
cooperate
then.
in
I'm
every
on my
way.
out of town,
That
but
means
I was
not
wondering,
cooperating.
do you mind if I sit down?
It's a really weird phenomenon with these people
No,
from
yeah,
Yeah,
Minnesota.
it's this vehicle I asked you about yesterday. I was just wondering.
Yeah, like I told you, we haven't had any vehicles go missing.
Okay. Are you sure? Because, I mean, how do you know? Because see, the crime I'm investigating, the perpetrators are driving a car with dealer plates, and they called someone who works here, so it'd be quite a coincidence.
Jerry
if they
knows
weren't, you know,
that
connected.
it's his car,
Yeah, I see.
So,
and he's kind of panicking right now.
have you done any kind of inventory
He's just doing
recently?
everything he can
The car's
possible to
not
shut her
my
down
lot, ma'am.
while still being
But
nice.
how do you know that for sure without doing a...
Well, I would know. I'm the executive sales manager.
Yeah, but I understand.
We run a pretty tight ship here.
I know, but, well, how do they establish that, sir? I mean, are the cars counted daily, or what kind of a routine here?
Ma'am, I answered your question.
Now he's raised his voice.
I'm sorry, sir.
Ma'am, I answered your question.
And Marge just can't believe it.
I answered the darn... I'm cooperating here. And there's no,
Sir, you have no call to get snippy with me. I'm just doing my job here.
I'm not, I'm not arguing here. I'm cooperating. And we're doing all we can.
Sir, could I talk to Mr. Gustafson?
And Mr. Gustafson is dead, so he has no other option but to cooperate.
Well, heck, if you wanna play games here, I'm working with you on this thing here, but okay. I'll do a damn
Now Jerry's
lot.
gonna exit
Sir,
through
right
the
now?
showroom.
Yeah, right now. You're darn tootin'. So damn important to you.
I'm sorry, sir.
Ah, what the Christ.
And now we're gonna see the extent of his golf collection. All of those trophies surrounding the one photo of his wife. The style of golfing again, and the faked fence. There's a beautiful wife and another golf statue. No photo of his son. And Marge is going to notice Jerry fleeing the interview, and that will reveal all these other trophies.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
And yep, there they are. Over 30 of them. Marge just can't believe it. She's had enough. And that's the end of this scene. Pretty cool second scene, huh? Yeah, I know. You want me to tell you how they're connected. Okay, listen up. So first, we got golf, visual reference to the other golf, scratches and scribbles on both.
Just a minute of your time here.
Marge comes in, sits down.
What is it all about?
Huh? Do you mind if I sit down? Carrying quite a load here. Well, sure I
Second
can.
scene. Marge
I'm on my
comes
way
in,
out of town,
sits
but I was
down.
wondering. Do you mind if I sit down? Carrying a bit of a load here.
No,
Yeah, it's this vehicle I asked you about yesterday.
Marge leaves through the showroom. Marge comes in through the showroom. Jerry picks up the phone at the end.
give me a shot. What the heck do you mean? Where did he go? It's only... No, I don't need a mechanic. I need a...
Marge picks up the phone at the end. And in the words of Marge herself, it would be...
driving a car with dealer plates, and they called someone who works here, so quite a coincidence if they weren't, connected.
So, we connected these two scenes to really tell you a lot about Jerry as a character, as well as to demonstrate his mental collapse, establishing, and then in the second scene revealing, even more about him as things get worse. The first thing these two scenes reveal is Jerry's obsession with golf. In fact, it can tell a careful viewer a whole lot about Jerry's character and motivations. Let's quickly look back at the first few clips that show off the golf memorabilia in Jerry's room. Yeah, okay, so we see one or two knickknacks and several trophies. Clearly the guy loves golf, and would probably rather be out playing than sitting here working. The viewer can infer from this that his plan is to get all this money, get it on that lucrative deal, and then quit his job and spend his time doing what he loves, which is playing golf. Okay, and now let's look at the clips from the second scene. Yeah, look at how much more golf stuff he has. Notice the key disparity in this scene. Yup, it's that there is only one photo of his wife and none of his son or other family members. And actually, the original script did call for a photo of Scotty as well, but I chose to leave it out as it really drives home the point about how self-centered and uncaring Jerry is for his family. A large but unitary photo of a loved one, if you can even say that, rests among over 30 golf trophies, and that's not even counting the knickknacks. I believe this is a striking image. While we already know that Jerry does not care about the well-being of his wife and family by having them kidnapped, here we see on full display, and really for anyone who comes in his office to see, that he cares very little about his family. And this shows where his priorities lie. Now each scene has mention of Jerry's father-in-law. Let's look at it in the first scene.
My father-in-law, he's the owner.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm a police officer from up Brainerd, investigating some...
Okay, There, so we see that Jerry first hesitates and then chooses to reveal that his father-in-law is the owner. The main problem is that his father-in-law makes him feel inferior, and the viewer is supposed to know that he is inferior because it is probable that he only even got this job because of his father-in-law. This will also remind the viewer of the father-in-law's statement that should Jerry's inferiority somehow put his wife and son in trouble, he will ensure that Gene and Scotty will never have to worry. This in itself is another fact pointing to Jerry's greed. His wife and son are fine. The money is for him, and he is going to steal it from his rich stepfather by putting his wife's life at risk to get back and finally make up for all the inferiority he felt. Now, looking at the second scene of the father-in-law, we see Jerry burst out.
Sir, could I talk to Mr. Gustafson? Mr. Lundegaard.
Well, heck, if you wanna play games here, I'm working with you on this thing here, but okay.
In this scene, his father-in-law, Mr. Gufferson, is dead, and when Marge asks for him, of course he has no other option but to change the subject and get out of there. However, it also represents just a little bit more. You see, Jerry's issue is that he feels inferior to his father-in-law, and part of this plan was to get back at him in a way. But now it was his inferiority that got his father-in-law killed and causes him to lose his cool here. Moving on from the inferiority subtext, the pairing of these two scenes excellently highlights Jerry's ascent into mental instability, as his world and his stupid plan come crashing down around him. First, let's look at his doodles on the notepad in the first scene. Not only is this a means of expressing a connection between the two scenes to the viewer, it is also meant to represent his current mindset. He does not know anything has gone terribly wrong, and while worried at the sight of a police officer, he thinks he can still get out of this thing on top. So, while the doodling may be panic-induced, it still follows the design with form and structure to it. Also, notice the audio in here. The first scene has a nice little song that's upbeat with flutes playing. It's the background music to the dealership. These hint to the viewer that Jerry still has hope and thinks he's going to get out of this all right, if he can just get Marge to leave. Now, let's look at Jerry's body language.
Brainerd.
Yeah. Homa Pa Bunyan, Babe the Blue Ox.
Babe the Blue Ox.
Yeah, we got that big statue up there. So, you haven't had any vehicles.
See, look at that. While he is off-put and really awkward at Marge, he still sits back in his chair and diddles around. This is not a man in a life-or-death situation backed into a corner. This is a man who is really bad at acting under pressure, just trying to get through this one conversation. He eventually tells her the car is not from his lot, and that's enough to make her leave. Once she's gone, he jumps into action. Not so laid back anymore. He gets on the phone and tries to get a grip on the situation that will soon tear him apart. Looking at the golf notebook from the second scene, it's just scribbles. Now it is like this for a utilitarian reason, to dull his pencils so that he can better fake the car's VIN numbers. However, the symbolism remains the same. Unlike the first doodle, this is just scribbles. It has no pattern or special detail, it follows no form. His brain is now just scribbles. He has no plan or any idea how to get out of this terrible situation he has put himself into, as his plan collapses all around him. The audio is also much different than the first. The scene opens with a sad, somber violin song, reminiscent of the opening and closing tracks of the film. This was to symbolize the falling action and the start of Jerry's fall. Now, let's take a look at its body language.
Yeah, it's this vehicle I asked you about yesterday. I was just wondering.
Yeah, like I told you, we haven't had any vehicles go missing.
Okay. Are you sure? Because, how do you know? Because the crime I'm investigating, the perpetrators were driving a car with dealer plates, and they called someone who works here, so it'd be quite a coincidence if they weren't, connected.
Yeah, I see.
Look, See there? It is much more defensive. He has sat up in his chair the entire time, and he's not shaking and diddling around like last time. This is a man who is on edge, and although he continues to employ Minnesota niceties by trying to cooperate, he always does the exact opposite. It's clear from his body language that he is on a completely different mental level from the first scene. He eventually realizes that Marge knows her connection is sound, and this causes him to flee, embarking on a short stint as a man on the lam. Oh, didn't see there. Pretty interesting, huh? Bet you're glad you stuck along for the whole ride. Got a lot better in the end, though. You know, there's a lot more going on there than it seemed at first. Well, anyway, I think my brothers are coming to get me. I wasn't supposed to reveal their secrets. Goodbye.